Welcome into the Warchant.com report. I'm Jeff Cameron of ESPN Radio. You can see my boys right there, Corey, Gene, Warchant.com. We appreciate you joining us. Another reminder, first of all, pregame show again this week on Warchant TV right here on YouTube. You can watch it, myself and Tom Lang. That's 10 a.m. bright and early as we get set to preview Florida State Clemson. It'll be fun. Post game is even more fun for Gene and Tom Lang. And they will take your calls and all the good stuff there. Game is at noon on ABC. They spared us the 8 p.m. kickoff. That's good, Gene. You should be happy about that. Not having to be up till 1 talking about a 55-point ass kicking. So that's a good thing. Speaking of which, Florida State comes off yet another loss, 38-22. It got ugly in a hurry. It was, in essence, over by halftime. We know this, but there were signs of life in the second half. So that's a good thing, I think, right? You want to start there? Again, bad start. I think they put the reins on a freshman quarterback making his first ever start, really limited him and what he was going to be allowed to do, especially since we didn't know at the time that Dante Lucas was not going to start. So they had 4 freshman offensive linemen in front of him. Less than ideal. Gene, did FSU actually turn a corner, outscoring NC State in that second half 19-17, or was this just a game where NC State realized it's over and went through the motions? Talk to me.
You know, the easy thing is to say it's a little bit of both, but you know what? I'm gonna go glass half full here. I was really encouraged by what I saw. There's a few things. I mean, they actually had a couple plays. Jarvis Brownlee actually in perfect position to make a play, and he did make a play. And he was a couple times he looked good in that second half. How about our boy Warren Thompson? Finally won a 50-50 ball. I mean, he's got such talent. If he could just build off of that and go, you know what, I can make those plays. Maybe that's a light bulb moment for him. Chuba Purdy, the game you could see slowed down for him in the second half. He was using his legs at the right time. He was making the right reads. He was doing some good things there. That was encouraging. And maybe more than that, I just saw body language. I saw guys that were excited. They were out there. They were getting after it. Haven't seen a whole lot. I mean, I'm not saying they've given up this year, but it seemed like they had a little edge to them in that second half. And maybe that's because the guys who were their supposed leaders, the Terrys, the Wilsons, who really haven't done anything this year, maybe they're gone. Maybe it's we know it's the youngest team in FBS. Maybe they've kind of said, okay, this is our team now. It's not these old guys' teams. They're all gone. This is our team now. So I was pretty encouraged by what I saw. Now, it could be all for naught this week, and they could get beaten down into oblivion again, and they could just say, well, screw that.
I think those are tangible things, though, for folks to latch on to, regardless of the result this Saturday. The result this Saturday is going to be about a depth of talent that Florida State doesn't have the requisite skill to compete, and they're going to lose by 50 because no matter how hard they try or how hard they play or how together they are, this is a lopsided affair. Corey, I want to switch to you, though, on the other side of the ball defensively. That seems to be the side of the ball where people are less encouraged, and not just because of the personnel, but rather because of what they don't do, which is cover anybody at all, especially in the middle of the field. And is this a matter of confidence, a lack of, this doesn't look to be coordinated. Let's be honest. The front end doesn't know what the back end's doing and vice versa. They give off coverage in bizarre situations, down on the goal line, in the red zone, 3rd and 5. We got 10 yards off the ball. This happens every week. Do you think these guys are just acting out on their own because they don't trust themselves to make a play and they don't want to give up the ultimate big play? Or do you think this is more about what Adam Fuller isn't doing?
A combination, like Gene said in the first question, you keep asking us these questions when there's 2 good answers, and they both fit.
Expound, please do.
Yeah, so obviously Adam Fuller doesn't tell Brendan Gant. Brendan Gant, I assume, knows the end zone is only 10 yards long. It's only 10 yards deep. So there's no need to be playing 8 yards deep in the end zone, because if you get an inch inside the end zone, Brendan, it's a touchdown. Yeah. He doesn't have to get to the back part of it. He can just get right there at the beginning. And so he knows that. Adam Fuller certainly knows that. I can't imagine Brendan Gant is being taught to do that. But I think it's telling, number one, look, Adam Fuller has not done a good job. Nobody could argue that. He has not been given a great roster to work with, too. Let's be fair. And he pointed it out last week, kind of matter-of-factly. He wasn't trying to take a shot, I don't think. But when he was talking about his safeties, he was like, we had Ray out there, we had BG out there, and he named somebody else, Sidney Williams. He's like, you hear those names and you understand what we're missing. Like the fact that we're having to play these guys tells you what we're not getting to play. And I think that's true. I think he, at the safety position, they are, if they're talented at all, the guys that are talented are injured or they're really young. So They're in a precarious spot on defense, and they don't have a pass rush really. Weirdly though, I thought the pass rush was there against NC State. They only got 1 sack, but they did make Bailey Hockman move a little bit. My problem, like you pointed out, is if you're going to bring 6 on the first drive of the game, you're going to bring 6. It's got to be a hot read. Hockman's got to get it out of his hand quickly. Why then are you giving a first down to him because you're 9 yards off the ball? And Travis Jay did that on the first drive, and then obviously Brendan Gant did that with the same kid on the touchdown where you're just playing so far off the ball that it's a middle school throw. He didn't have to make anything great. Oh, there's a guy wide open because you just blitzed. That's the thing when you talk about not being coordinated, you get really frustrated by because it doesn't look like the levels are working together.
Yeah,
part of that is the coordination, right? Part of that is you can blame the coaches for that. That's understandable and justifiable. Part of it is because some of the players aren't very good.
That's what I mean when I say coordination. It literally means the word. You're using the word properly. They're not coordinated. That is his job, is to coordinate the defense, and they are not coordinated. Now, there could be a myriad reasons for why that's true. I, like you, do not think that they go out to practice every day and Adam Fuller says, now listen, we're going to bring pressure on this first series. I want you guys to sprint for the back of the end zone. I don't want you to, we can't get beat over the top here, guys. Get as far away from the ball or the receiver as you possibly can. I don't think that's happening. In fact, I'm sure that's not happening. But it does appear to me that no matter what they tell them to do, they can't get guys to do it consistently. And I think that has to do with confidence and a lack of belief. It's very frustrating. They also didn't get a ton of time together. I also know that they haven't been able to practice very physically because they're worried about numbers. So the practices aren't the way they would normally be. And let's just face it, fellas, the other problem is they go against our offense every week. So if you're a member of this defense, you're seeing this offense. Well, what's that offensive line going to do to stop you? In addition, what are these receivers going to do, or what kind of threat do they pose? Not much. So when you finally do see a team that is coordinated and a team that has had carryover from year to year with some veteran players and some talent at wide receiver, these guys are getting blown away. The speed of the game, the coordination of the offense renders them sort of obsolete. It's very frustrating. It's something you have to hope moving forward that we don't see a lot of going into next season, but people get tired of talking about next season. Speaking of which, Chubba Purdy makes his debut as a true freshman behind 4 freshman offensive linemen. Not ideal. 15 of 23, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. I thought he had a good second half. I thought he showed some signs of, as Gene said, slowing the game down a little bit. Because of Jordan Travis's injury history, should FSU now go all in on Chubba Purdy here being the quarterback of the future and just use Jordan Travis sort of in certain situations, certainly packages, either one of you guys? So let's go with you, Corey. What do you think on that option?
The issue with Jordan was just brought up is his injury status. But maybe you can hope against hope that this has just been an anomaly, and he will be healthy for the rest of his career. I know that's a big assumption, but maybe he is healthy or healthy-ish. And Chubba, he did some good things. He can run. He can move. He's not a runner. He's not a guy that's going to make 7 guys miss, but he's got the requisite wheels to make some plays with his legs. And then, the arm strength, we'll see. I think he has better arm strength than he's shown. But I like the fact that he did scan the field a little bit. He did make some plays on the run. I thought there were a lot of positives in the second half to take away from. No turnovers was huge. Only got sacked once. Those are big things. You're taking away the negative plays. That's a great sign for a true freshman. Jordan Travis is the only playmaker you got on the team right now. I don't know that you just keep him on the sidelines. I think he's the guy you ride with.
I still think it's a little bit unfair when we talk about him being fragile and Jordan Travis because he was hurt back during the preseason. I mean, I think he's been battling his shoulder problem. Now, the concussion this last week was different. Maybe he gets healthy in the offseason. It's not as much of an issue. Maybe you can train him a little bit to not take so many hard hits. It's okay to slide Jordan occasionally.
It's going to be an interesting offseason to watch and see what they do. Also in the transfer portal, there's a lot of things that could affect these decisions, so we'll have to take a look at that. All right, we're not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that we want to break down this Clemson matchup. You guys know that Trevor's coming back. They're 7-1. They're going to beat the brakes off of Florida State. It's really not a matter of going player by player, statistically or otherwise. So all I'll promise you when we come back on the Warchant.com report is another reminder that you can join us on Warchant TV on YouTube for the pregame show at 10 a.m. a.m. and the post-game show upon the conclusion. And also that you should check out all the great content on warchant.com, but also our picks. We've got to do some picks. We'll do that too. And we will talk about the future and what can be gleaned for the remaining games, and including this game. We'll get into some of that as well. That's all next. Warchant.com report.
Are you the ultimate FSU fan? We're your ultimate Seminole sports source. Subscribe to Warchant TV, where we bring to life the award-winning website, warchant.com. Here you will find added opinion and analysis from the #1 team on the Florida State beat, a staff that brings over 50 years combined experience right to your phone or mobile device. Unmatched digital storytelling, original recruiting content, access to the top prospects in the nation, unflinching post-game wrap-ups, and the daily podcast Wake Up Warchant. All free of charge every day right here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and use the promo code WARCHANT30 for a risk-free 30-day trial of premium access to warchant.com, home to the most active, passionate FSU community online, featuring exclusive insider access you won't find anywhere else. You're the ultimate Florida State fan? Connect to warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. As we continue, a couple of reminders. Make sure you're subscribed to Warchant TV by clicking on the subscribe button. You can see it right down there below on the right of the video. Click on the bell to be notified of when new videos and live shows are available. Also, should note again, the Warchant.com, Warchant TV on YouTube will house the pregame show that Tom and I do at 10 a.m. this Saturday, and the postgame show that Gene and Tom do, and taking your calls, answering questions, all that good stuff after the game against Clemson, which kicks off at noon on ABC. So there you go. Thoughts on the game, fella? Anything to take away from what happens in this game? We all know it's going to be a lopsided affair. I think we will probably be watching closely for effort. I think certainly how engaged, how hard the guys play, really all you can look forward to this Saturday.
Yeah, don't quit. Like you said, fight hard. There's a couple little things I will be looking for. I think special teams, I mean, they've been really disappointing the last couple of weeks. So especially in the return game, I'd like to see that get cleaned up. Penalties have dropped off a little bit the last couple of weeks. I hope that's a trend. Well, when they're down by 50, and there's a decent chance they're going to be down by 50 in the second half, do they keep their composure? We haven't seen a lot of that. When they've gotten blown out in a lot of these games, you see guys taking cheap shots, hitting guys late on the sideline, and that's been part of the culture problem. A lot of that culture has been purged out, maybe. Can we see a little bit classier effort? It's not – I'm sure these are little small things, but I think that's all we have to grasp going into this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you take away from offense and defense. You're not expecting a whole lot. Maybe the offense can do some things. If Jordan Travis is back, he gives you a little bit of an element. This Clemson defense isn't incredible. It's still way too good for Florida State to beat. But, yeah, Gene said about the kickoff returns, they're going to get a lot of at-bats in this game. I mean, it's going to be like a 2 kickoff return type game. It could be 8, 9, or 10. And I do want to see something there. Like, there are holes there to be hit. There are seams there to exploit. And so far, these kick returners have just not been good. I mean, I said it on Wake Up Warchant this week. If Kermit Whitfield was the kick returner on this team, I think he'd have 2 or 3 touchdowns, at least 2 or 3 long returns. And these guys just do not hit a hole hard. They kind of tiptoe through it. And I want to see that get better because they're young. You want to see them learn from it. I want to see Travis Jay hit a hole and get to top speed quickly and see what happens, as opposed to kind of just mosey on up to the 15-yard line and then deciding to start running hard. So I want to see little things like that. Defensively, make them earn it. They're gonna score touchdowns and plentiful amount of touchdowns. But make them earn it. Don't just have these huge busts and breakdowns where you give up wide open 40-yard touchdowns. Just, ETN's hard to tackle, right? But don't just give him a free lane to the end zone. Make him at least break a few tackles, which he will, but make him do that. That's what I want to see. I want to see you get out-talented, not out-coached and out-schemed. That's what I'm looking for this week.
Well, you'll get to see them get out talented, Corey.
Absolutely.
You'll get to see it every single position on the field, and that makes the coaching aspect very difficult because you can have the right defense called, but if the other team's bigger, stronger, faster, it doesn't make any difference. We used to joke around about this back when Florida State was a dominant team, for example, or if you look in the NFL when Randy Moss first broke into the league, pretty sure teams knew they were going to throw the fly to Randy Moss. Oops, couldn't stop it because he's freaking Randy Moss. So there are going to be some of that, but I understand what you're saying. Does the scheme look coordinated? Does it match up with what you're trying to do up front? Does the back end know what the front end's doing? Let's hope that's true. I think they're going to play hard, guys. I think I saw signs of that last week. I don't think this is a team that quits. It's a bunch of young kids who are going to get overwhelmed. I don't know that we can judge much here. We just have to hope they continue to play hard. They play for each other. And, Gene, like you said, I think it's important that we don't see any of the cheap shots, none of the dumb stuff. Now, listen, if Clemson's still throwing the ball and it's 60-0, I'm just saying things happen. But beyond that, yeah, if it's within reason, that's all, okay? Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. All right.
What's the penalty if you somehow tackle Trevor Lawrence? Say that happens once in the game. He actually gets sacked or tackled.
Yeah.
And then you take out scissors and start cutting his hair. Is that
a WWF, WWE match?
No, I mean, is that a 15-yard penalty? What do they do for that?
I think that's it's like Samson, right? If you take it, that's all his power.
He's probably terrible.
They're done. Clemson's got no
then they
shot.
only got the other dude.
I think at that point, a lot of people around the country be like, that dude had scissors in his pants. What
That's an
in
issue.
the world?
I still think it's just a 15-yard penalty, though. I don't think it's as bad as – it's not like you have to miss the next half like you targeted them. You still get to play the next game.
It's not quite the last Boy Scout where you're pulling a piece out in the middle of a game.
Just scissors.
Just scissors. That's all.
Maybe rip the hair out. But either way, I agree. If they're doing what they did to Georgia Tech when they were up 56-7 at half, and Trevor Lawrence has come out and still throwing the ball, that's where it gets dangerous. And you really don't want them to do that. And I wouldn't think Dabo would do that, but you never know.
Well, he's got something more to play for. If he's smart, he just shortens the game and gets out of dodge. Because I do think pride kicks in at some point. If you're getting throttled and it's 70-7 and a guy's throwing a flea flicker on you, look, man, pride's a hell of a thing. I'm not going to stand there and let that happen. All right, let's do this real quick. After that game, of course, they take on Virginia and Duke. What are a couple things that you want to see in the final 2 weeks to make you believe that the team's headed in the right direction? Are these things we've kind of already hit on, or is it just is there something different with those two games, which I guess you could call winnable?
I think with the last couple games, you've seen some flashes of some things that are positive. I think the defensive line, to Corey's point, I mean, we're starting to see a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. I'd like to see that on a more consistent basis against two teams. You should be able to do that those final two games. How about the offense running a little bit more efficiently? Cut out the penalties, less misassignments, those kind of things. And I think defensively, we talked about earlier, cover somebody, that soft underbelly that Florida State loves to roll over and show the opponent. Just have a little fight on some of those plays in the middle of the field. You can cover the slot receiver. It is allowed to happen. You can do it. So those little things like that would be nice.
I'd like to see Lawrence Toafili at some point again. I think that's a guy he is going to be a weapon in the future for this program, but he needs reps. He needs at bats. He needs to gain. Norvell always talks about gaining confidence. The only way you can do that is to, number one, play well, but work through it, work to gain that confidence and self-belief. That guy's going to be a factor. He should be a factor in this program for years to come. I want to see him start being more of a factor if he's healthy the rest of the season. And then, like Gene said, I just go back to, the NC State game, they scored a lot of points, of course, especially for them, especially for Bailey Hockman, but they did have to earn it. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't just give up a bunch of 70-yard plays like you did against Louisville.
Yeah, it wasn't the Louisville game, right?
Yeah, so they have taken steps in that regard. They can't cover the middle of the field because their safeties aren't very good and their linebackers aren't very good, and they're getting exploited. So there's only so much you can do there. It would help if Akeem Dent was still apparently available to play and you had a nickel corner. They don't have anybody that can play the nickel right now, so they're having to do this stuff. But through the next two games, I just think if they keep the energy and the effort, look, the best they can do this year, in my opinion, the best they can do is 3 wins. So the season's already at a loss. Just look for little things you can build on, like pride, like effort. And I think that's been there so far this season. Just don't lose it here down the stretch. And hopefully you're off it. I want to see the offense click at a little higher rate.
Before we make a couple of picks and then sign off for the day, out of curiosity, transfer portal guys, if we're going to rank the positions of need or that you'd really like to see them hit hard, are we going offensive line, defensive end, linebacker, hardcore those positions? Obviously, they stink at wide receiver right now. How would you guys rank this in order of importance? Gene?
I think defensive end, because I think if you can get an elite guy, who can put pressure on the quarterback, I think it changes everything for the defense. They just haven't had that at all this year. I think that's the one position, man, I think could help you out. So I would have to have that one. You know, offense, I hate to say it, but I think offensive line might be okay, especially if Devontae Love-Taylor can come back healthy. You're starting so many young guys, get them in the weight room. I think they might be serviceable next year. You know, I would probably say a linebacker next. I'm thinking wide receiver. I'm hoping you had a lot of young guys. Maybe you can get a freshman or two that can come in and help you out there. But man, if you can get a stud defensive end and a stud linebacker, I think this defense could be almost average next year if you could do those two things. And then suddenly I think that could win you some games.
You got to find a way to get some linebackers. They haven't had a good linebacker play here in years on end, and you got to get pressure on the quarterback, to Gene's point. Got to have a defensive end. Corey, go.
I think the answer is, and this isn't a cop-out. The answer is all of them. I mean, you need to get better at every position on the field, essentially. But, you know, I think, honestly, they need some playmakers out wide. Obviously, everything is important. I'm not saying one is more important than the other. But this offense has to have some playmakers out wide, and they don't have any right now. So imagine what this offense can do with LaDamian Webb, Toa Feely, Jordan Travis, or Chubba Purdy, and then a couple guys out wide that can actually make dudes miss. You know, and turn a 7-yard gain into a 25-yard gain instead of turning a 7-yard gain into a 7-yard gain. That makes this offense go. You got to have dudes out wide that can make plays. And I think you can sell that maybe easier on the transfer portal. Like, hey, man, we will throw you the ball. We have nobody here that we trust. You can come here and catch 50, 60 balls next year. Get your butt here.
Corey, it's an offense for playmakers. All right.
That's right. I've heard that.
Kentucky is at Alabama. That's not a good matchup for Kentucky. Alabama's given 30.5. I'm going to take Alabama and give 30.5. Boys?
You know, my policy always just take Alabama all the time. So they've won for me most of the year. I'm going to keep going with it.
Policy. I want to commend you on that. That's a good policy.
I think Kentucky's defense is okay, but nobody's defense stops Alabama's, and Kentucky's offense just ain't cutting it. I'll take Alabama and give the 30. I think I'd give 38 in that game. Wow. I still feel comfortable.
We were going to do Miami, Georgia Tech, but all of Miami's games have been transferred and moved into another date. Ohio State's given 20.5 against upstart, the star of the Big Ten, Indiana Hoosiers. Woo! Tell you what, how about Indiana, everybody? 20.5. I would like 21.5, wouldn't we all? It's on the balance there. I'm taking Indiana plus 20.5, guys.
That's a big number. Especially for a week, it doesn't matter really where it's played. I'm going to say Indiana too. I'm going to take Indiana plus. Yeah, I'm going to take Indiana.
The first thing I was thinking when I saw that, exactly what Jeff said, I don't like that reverse hook on there. I'd feel a lot better. One more point, and you can buy that, right? You can tease that or whatever. You can buy the point. So if I were betting on this, and I wouldn't do this, but if I were betting, I would add that point on there. I'd feel much more comfortable. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I just think Indiana's okay. I think they're pretty good. They're not great. They're pretty good, but I think Ohio State might be slowed down just enough. They're going to win the game and win it pretty easily, but that's just too many points.
By Indiana standards, this is the best Indiana team of all time.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. It's bedlam, as they say. I watch Oklahoma pretty carefully. I didn't love what I saw early in the year. I like what I saw their last 2 games. Give me OU to stomp Oklahoma State. I'll give the 7.
Oh, no, I'm not doing that. That game is always weird. Like, Oklahoma State always seems to play them well and now Oklahoma State might actually have a defense, which isn't, I mean, when have we ever said that in our lifetimes? I'm going to take Oklahoma State. Lincoln Riley keeps coming up with reasons why the season should just be canceled. Every other quote I see out of him is like, I don't know if we can even finish the season. That guy's mind isn't in it. He's going to be in the Cowboys next year. He's not in this. He doesn't like the Rattler kid. There's some friction. I feel it.
Yeah.
So give me Oklahoma State plus 7.
Corey's created all kinds of storylines.
Yeah, I think Jeff's doing a homer pick here. It is bedlam, right? So you never, like Corey said, you never know this is going to be a wacky game. 7 is a lot. Yeah, I got to go with Oklahoma State. Go with the Cowboys here.
All right, well, I'll take that victory. You guys can buy me a beer. Really quickly, let's look at – this will be the final thing. Do we want to name a final score? Does anybody want to engage in this?
No, when we just say Clemson will cover, I think we can all agree,
Clemson's
right?
covering. Clemson's covering.
That's a fair –
We'll go that far.
Pre-game show, 10 a.m., Warchant TV on YouTube. That's right. Myself, Tom Lang joins me, and then he hangs on after the game and joins Gene for the post-game on Warchant TV as well. Don't forget to get in there, ask your questions. They'll answer those and have a lovely dialogue after this game.
A fun vent session. There'll be lots of venting going on.
I don't know. People are really going to go into this game with expectations. But people still love to vent. All right. Always a pleasure. Good job, Aslan. Thanks to Corey. Thanks to Gene. And thanks to all of you for watching. Be well, everybody. Take care. Go Noles. We'll talk to you next time.